Hey guys, what's going on? King Narakami here, and today is a big day. A lot of you know that I am a huge simp for Shin Megami Tensei 5, and finally, after it seems like years of rumors of a complete edition to SMT 5, we finally have it. Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance was released, well, it was leaked by a Korean ratings board, the Korean ratings board. Leaked Shin Megami Tensei 5, and this basically, confirms the release. So today, I'm really excited. I wanted to share the hype. I have a friend of the channel, Super Gamer Guy 64. How you doing today, Nathan?
Hey man, I'm excited. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, and also we have a certain event happening soon.
Right.
So I'm hyped.
Right. All this stuff is kind of happening at once, so let's just go down what happens. Like I said, Shin Megami Tensei 5 was rated in Korea today. The rating has been taken down because obviously it, surfaced early and everything. But I mean, this is a real thing, an actual ratings board. Here in North America, we have the ESRB. Shin Megami Tensei 5 was rated M. This is basically the equivalent over in Korea. Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance, which I think is a badass name, by the way. So, what this entails is that it's not like Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse, where it's like a brand new story and everything. It's like a sequel, kind of. No, this is more like along the lines of Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey Redux. And they're going to add some additional content and some improvements for the game. But there's still a lot that we don't know about this, so let's just start right off the bat. SMT 5 was originally a Switch-only game. Nathan, you know that. So, today there was announced that a Nintendo Direct, a Nintendo Partner Direct, is coming this week. Now, I find it weird that this ratings leak came at pretty much the exact same day as the Direct announcement. What say you?
Honestly, I feel like there's a good chance that it could show up here, but I'm also like kind of thinking that maybe they might save it for the next system, because I feel like one of the main things that was listed for this game was like what improvements to, was it just like the game in general, or was it like performance?
Right, yes, improvements to the game and everything.
I feel like one of the things that could fall under could be in like performance enhancements. So like aside from coming to other platforms, obviously running better there. If it came to like the Switch 2, obviously it could probably run at like 60 FPS instead of like, the Switch's limited hardware that was made in like 2015. So instead of having like, a game that can barely run at 30, right. I'd say it's possible it could show up at the partner showcase tomorrow. Oh, not tomorrow, but the day after. It could show up there, which I wouldn't be surprised, but I could also see it being saved for whenever the next, Switch 2 reveal is, or later on in the first year.
Right. I mean, it's kind of up in the air. We all know SMT5 didn't run that well, as Nathan said. It struggled to keep 30 FPS. The cutscenes ran at like 25 FPS.
They really pushed the Switch to its limits, too.
Yes, it was a very ambitious game for the system, and I believe it ran on Unreal Engine 4, and that's already a very tasking engine for the Switch hardware itself, but to me, it didn't really detract from the overall game experience. I mean, I'm a guy that, sees some frame drops, and I can really see that stuff. I know David Casty RPGs, he told me, like, you need to go outside because you can sense one frame drop. I'm like, bro, that's just how I am. My eyes are just, like, sensitive to that shit. But it would be great. Obviously, it's probably going to come to the Switch or Switch 2, but really what gets me excited about this, and, they didn't go to any information about platforms, is that maybe this might be a multi-platform release. Do you think it would be a missed opportunity if this only came out on the Switch or the Switch 2?
Oh, definitely. Like, if they only saved it for the Switch, I feel like they would be missing out on a lot of money. It's like how, and I know I've said this a lot, it's like how Atlas has been only putting, like, certain games on certain platforms. Like, for instance, Persona 3 Reload, while it is doing extremely well right now on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, I think not having it on every platform, like, for instance, like that game not being on Switch, obviously it's missing out on there, but like for SMT5 missing out on like almost every platform but the Switch, that's definitely like much worse, where I feel like they could be making a lot more money and also just giving SMT more exposure, because I feel like SMT really needs that after, how much Persona has been just in the spotlight for so long. So I think if SMT5 could, get put out on like at least PlayStation 4, I don't know if they're going to do a PS5 version of the game, but I could see it. But if they can at least get that out on like other platforms, or if they're gonna have like a Game Pass deal or something, I feel like that could really help SMT, like, you know, be exposed more to more people because it really needs it.
And we forget that SMT5 was the fastest and most selling SMT game of all time, and it was just on one console, the Nintendo Switch. So, while you're hitting your main audience on the Switch, there's still a lot of money left on the table, and I think a PS4, PS5, Game Pass, and a Steam release could really go a long way, if you ask me. So, I'm fully expecting a multi-platform release when SMT5 Vengeance is announced, and I think that would be a very big missed opportunity if it just came to Switch. But this isn't the only reason we're here today. We're going to talk about a wish list for SMT5 Vengeance, because it just says on the ratings board that it was just improvements and additional content. Now, that can mean a lot of things, but to me, first off, it means improvements to the overall gameplay. Now, I feel like the gameplay of SMT5 was already almost perfect. I loved how they brought back the kind of like the press turn battle system, how they evolved it even more in this game. Yes, Magasushi, and it was just such a fun game to just...
Such a blast.
Oh, dude.
I loved it so much.
It was just enough of a challenge and fun, and it became probably one of my favorite JRPGs of all time, and the gameplay was absolute... It was peak. I'm sorry. I don't know how they can improve it. Do you have any idea how they could improve the gameplay at all?
I have no idea. I feel like, honestly, I think this game is, in terms of gameplay, I feel like it's perfect because unlike, I know this is going to be a weird comparison, but, well, not really, but I know P5 has problems with its, like, difficulty spikes and stuff. Well, it's not really a difficult game at all. But, like, it's a super easy game, but with SMT5, I feel like that game's, like, pretty much perfectly balanced for the most part. There's obviously going to be, like, some boss fights that are, like, much harder than others. But I think SMT5, in terms of its gameplay, is pretty much, like, the series just perfect.
Now, one of the biggest things that people had a tough, big criticism about SMT5 is, like, the story and the characters, and I know we were talking before about what we wanted to include in this video, and one of your biggest topics was, you know, deepening the lore and the world and everything. What say you? Does SMT5 Vengeance really need to introduce, like, more characters or backstories and everything? I want you to speak on that.
I feel like SMT5, it doesn't really need to introduce any new characters, because I feel like the characters we already have are kind of like struggling as it is to, like, you know, be relevant in the plot. I mean, they're only really there just for what they need to be there for. And even then, I feel like they lack a lot of depth, where I feel like if they could expand more on that and also just give the characters, like, backstories or, like, anything, that would be nice, because I feel like they're really only there just to move the plot forward. And if they could at least, like, I don't know, do something with them to make it feel like I actually, you know, care for them. Because I kind of forgot most of them exist. What's that girl with the glasses? I forgot what her name was, but I remember she was, like, kind of just...
Yuzuru's sister? The girl with the glasses?
Yeah.
Miyasa?
Yeah, no, dude, she was not really relevant in the plot at all.
No. There was more time spent on the trailers than she spent in, like, game time. When we actually
it was crazy.
Like, she kind of just, like, showed up. Oh yeah, this is Yuzuru's sister, I believe that's what she is. And then you didn't see her again. I know, like, you had to do, like, some things, but I just don't remember anything. In fact, I had to look up her name before we got on, because I don't
even remember any of their names.
And, like, other characters such as Ichiro, Dazai, like, all of a sudden he just slicks back his hair, throws away his hat, and all of a sudden he's, like, the big bad villain, and everything turns to chaos and everything. It was like, what? I mean...
I was laughing my ass off when I saw that.
Like, that escalated really quickly. Like, like, you don't hear from these characters at all. This guy was, like, trying to, like, get on his phone and, like, report on, like, an earthquake at the beginning of the game, then all of a sudden he, like, turns over to the dark side, slicks back his hair, and now he's, like, the villain there. I'm like, what?
It just doesn't make any sense. Like, I feel like this game really could just use more depth and just, honestly, just think things out more.
Now, you said that we don't need a new character. Games like Strange Journey, Redux, Persona 5 Royal introduced new characters into the fold in addition to what the story already had. And you said you don't believe that this game Vengeance needs that?
No, I don't think it needs it, but I could totally see Atlas introducing a new character like they did in Strange Journey Redux. Even if, you know, they might not be like the most loved character in the world. I feel like they totally could do that, and I would not be surprised if they did that. But also, I feel like this game really doesn't need it. I think what they just need to focus on is just the characters that already exist in this world and just flesh them out more and just make them more enjoyable to be around. So,
Right.
yeah.
And honestly, the last thing that I want to see in the game is more dungeons and open areas to explore. I feel like the map was already big in SMT 5, and there was a lot to do and explore. I would love to see them absolutely like expand on that, create more areas, and maybe you know, have more interactions with the demons and everything. What say you? Do you think?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. I love the exploration in SMT 5.
It's so much fun. Like, I don't know if you actually no. It was during Nintendo's E3 of 2021 when they initially like revealed the gameplay of the game, and you just saw like the protagonist just running in this open world. I was just blown away. Like, it was insane.
And it's a beautiful game too. The areas, I remember the forest area with the fairies and everything. That was absolutely.
Oh my god, I love that so much.
And you talk about the limitations of the Switch, but to me the game looked beautiful.
It's definitely one of the most impressive Switch games ever. Like, I think this game's honestly, this might be like a hot take. I don't know if it is, but I feel like this game's like more impressively like visually and more visually impressive than Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom.
Hey, please do not hurt Nathan in the comments, ladies and gentlemen. Do not, because this man, he is a nice man, and I understand 1000% what he means. It's a very impressive game, especially, you know, this is like a third-party situation here.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Atlas isn't.
It was one of the first Switch games ever announced too.
Yeah, people forget that. Like, it was very early, like in the Switch. I think during the first Switch press conference or something, it was there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. After the reveal, we had that Switch 2 like presentation or whatever, and that was one of the first games they ever announced. And that actually brings me to a point I wanted to quick talk about. I noticed in the credits of this game, Nintendo helped with the localization, and also, I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard they might have funded it, and I'm not sure if that's completely true or not.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But I was wondering if that would affect it at all going to other platforms, because I know this was also like a discussion with P5 at one point where, like, you know, people didn't know if Sony had like any, you know, just they were involved in it or anything. So I was just wondering if like maybe that would be an issue, but I feel like that's probably not going to be an issue because they could maybe like pay them off or something.
I'm not sure. Like, it's a tough thing to do. Like, obviously this pretty much was funded by Nintendo. I think they had a bunch of funds go into the game. Atlas definitely did not like use their own funds for this game, as far as I know. I could be 100% wrong, but Nintendo had an investment in the game one way or another, just like with like Tokyo Mirage Sessions that came before it. And it's hard to say. I still think it needs to be multi-platform. Like, I don't think
I agree.
A lot of people like, okay, for this to succeed, let's just go over what we said. For SMT 5 Vengeance 6 to succeed, it needs to be 1, multi-platform, 2, include all the DLC that was released on the Switch. It needs to perhaps rewrite some of the story and the characters, expand upon them more.
That's the biggest one.
I don't know how they're going to improve gameplay, but maybe.
Yeah, no, I think that's fine. They can leave that alone.
Yeah, the performance, yes, that'll be on more hardware. And the last thing is just, you know, the open areas and new dungeons and everything for us to explore. If you do all these things, I think SMT 5 Vengeance will be a success. Now, maybe if you just release it on just Switch, I don't think a lot of people are going to double dip $60, except for like the hardcore people like you and me.
Yeah, I'm crazy. I bought this game 20 times.
Yes. So, I think it does need to go multi-platform. Now, it'll be fine on Switch, it'll sell fine, but I think for them to capitalize the most on this game, it needs to go multi-platform. And I feel like it would be a big failure if it did.
Yeah, I think multi-platform and just improving the plot of this game are like their two biggest things they need to nail down, especially multi-platform as well, because I feel like a lot of people want to play this game, but they just either don't have evil. I mean, I know the Switch has like 40 million units out now, but I feel like most people who have a Switch either don't want to play because of the performance issues, or just really want to play on better hardware that, you know, actually can run the game properly.
So that
as much as I love the Switch.
So that pretty much brings us to the end of our conversation here. Anything that you want to add, Nathan, before we wrap it up here?
I don't think so. I think we pretty much nailed down about everything this game needs. I just hope that if they do put it on a Nintendo system, it's saved for the next one and not this one, because I feel like having those performance enhancements are definitely going to be like good to, be there at launch and just make this game succeed that it needs to, be.
Right. We don't know if this is going to be a 2024 or a 2025 release. We have no idea. So I feel like they should release this first thing because, we got Metaphor Refanzio coming. Maybe this would be like an early 2025 thing, I feel like.
I can definitely see that.
Once the Switch
but also, there's
out.
also that, there's also that gap between, like, March after Unicorn Overlord releases. And then we also have, like, from Unicorn Overlord to Metaphor Refantasio, we have that big gap there. So it could possibly like release there. But also, I feel like this game's probably going to be like announced as like 2025 or something.
Nathan, thank you so much for joining the video. Tell them where they can find you on YouTube, Twitter. Where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter, NSuperGamerGuy on there, but everyone just calls me Nathan because I made that username when I was like 12 years old, so just call me Nathan. But you can find me there on Twitter. I also have a YouTube that's linked in the description of my Twitter account. You'll find it there, and also all my other social media accounts. But yeah, thanks for having me.
You'll be able to find all of his links down below, so make sure you subscribe to Nathan and follow him on Twitter. Do whatever you can. This is a good man, and I appreciate you coming on here today and talk about SMT5 Vengeance. Thank you, Nathan.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And we will see you guys in the next video. King out.